Imagine waking up one morning. You walk out of your cave. The people who you grew up with are gone. Your family died years ago. You haven't seen another face like yours in weeks. You climb a hill and stare across the valley. Nothing. You don't know it, but you're the last one of your kind. Not the last person, the last human. Because for almost all of history, Earth wasn't just inhabited by one species of human. There were many. Some were taller, some were shorter, some had brains just as large as ours. Some survived freezing ice ages, while others adapted to tiny tropical islands. And then, one by one, every single one disappeared, leaving just us. So who was the very last ancient human to ever exist? Let's find out. When most people picture prehistory, they imagine a lonely world where Homo sapiens slowly evolved before building civilizations. But that's not what happened. If you traveled back just 50,000 years, you'd discover something shocking. You wouldn't be the only humans walking the earth. Europe was home to Neanderthals. Across Asia lived the mysterious Denisovans. Indonesia had tiny humans known as Homo floresiensis, nicknamed the Hobbits because adults stood almost about a meter tall. On the Philippine Islands lived another small species called Homo luzonensis, and scientists are still uncovering evidence that there may have been even more human species we've yet to identify. Think about that. For millions of years, humanity wasn't just one family. It was an entire collection of different human species, each evolving in different environments. Some were expert hunters, others climbed mountains, some crossed oceans, and at one point, at least 6 different kinds of humans may have shared the planet at the same time. But eventually, only one remained. The best known of these ancient humans were the Neanderthals, and despite what old movies portray, they weren't primitive cavemen. Neanderthals made sophisticated stone tools. They controlled fire, they hunted enormous animals like bison and mammoths. They cared for injured members of their groups. Some even buried their dead. Their brains were actually slightly larger than the average modern humans. If you met one today wearing modern clothes, you'd probably notice they look different. A heavier brow, a wider nose, a stockier build, but they would still be recognizably human. Even more surprising, we didn't just compete with them, we had children together. Today, almost everyone with European or Asian ancestry carries 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA, meaning that they never completely disappeared. A tiny part of them lives on inside billions of people, but Neanderthals themselves eventually vanished. Scientists have debated this question for decades. Why did every other human species disappear while Homo sapiens survived? The truth is, there probably wasn't one single reason. Climate changed rapidly. Ice ages came and went. Forests became grasslands. Food sources disappeared. Different human groups were forced into unfamiliar territory. Then Homo sapiens arrived. We weren't necessarily stronger. Neanderthals were probably stronger. We weren't necessarily smarter either. Instead, our greatest advantage may have been something far less obvious. Cooperation. Modern humans built enormous social networks. Groups traded resources over vast distances. Ideas spread from tribe to tribe. If one community invented a better spear, others would copy it. Knowledge accumulated generation after generation. Small improvements became enormous advantages over thousands of years. Meanwhile, smaller isolated populations struggled. Every harsh winter, every disease, every failed hunting season reduced their numbers even further. Eventually, there simply wasn't enough left to recover. But extinction wasn't always violent. Sometimes it happened quietly, through interbreeding, through isolation, through generations becoming fewer, until there was only one. So, who was the last ancient human? We don't know their name. We don't know whether they were male or female. We don't know what they looked like exactly. But scientists believe that the final Neanderthals survived until 40,000 years ago. One of the last places they lived was on the southern tip of what is now Spain. Picture it, a small group, maybe only a few dozen individuals, hunting, making tools, raising children, completely unaware that across the rest of the world, their species had already disappeared. Perhaps they still believed there were others like them beyond the mountains. Perhaps they expected another hunting party to return. Perhaps they waited for their relatives who never came back. Eventually, only one remained. Imagine carrying on your normal day, making a fire, looking for wood, looking for food, watching the sunset, never realizing that you had just become the last Neanderthal on Earth. No ceremony, no announcement, no history books. Just another ordinary evening that quietly marked the end of a species that had survived for hundreds and thousands of years. And when that individual died, humanity became alone. But here's where the story becomes even stranger. Neanderthals may have not been the very last ancient humans after all. On the Indonesian island of Flores lived a tiny Homo floresiensis. Some evidence suggests that they lived until around 50,000 years ago. Other discoveries hint that they may have lasted even longer. Then there are the Denisovans. We know remarkably little about them. For years, scientists had almost no fossils, just a finger bone, a few teeth, and a fragment of bone. Yet DNA revealed that they once spread across huge parts of Asia. Even today, some populations carry Denisovan genes that help them survive high altitudes and low oxygen environments. Every new archaeological discovery has the potential to rewrite history. It's entirely possible that another human species survived later than we currently believe, or that one we haven't even discovered yet existed alongside our ancestors. The ending of humanity's family tree isn't completely written. The strangest part of this story isn't that ancient humans disappeared. It's that they almost didn't. If history had unfolded just a little differently, you might have Neanderthal neighbors. Your doctor might belong to another human species. Your best friend could have evolved along a completely different branch of the human family tree. Instead, out of every human species that ever walked this planet, only one survived. Us. And somewhere around 40,000 years ago, one ordinary individual unknowingly witnessed the final sunset of their entire species. Not because they saw history happen, but because they were history. And perhaps the most haunting thing of all is that they never knew they were the last.